What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Kubrat Pulev. Kubrat Pulev says that he is happy to fight Anthony Joshua behind closed doors in June if the coronavirus KOs fans from Tottenham's stadium. Okay, he says he insisted he is happy to fight him, and he won't be deterred from this pandemic from KOing the previous champion. Promoter Eddie Hearn is sweating after the British Board of Boxing Control canceled all events until at least the end of April, where they will reevaluate this situation. Okay. Of course, we know that the COVID-19, the coronavirus, continues to sweep the globe. Hearn has a backup date in July with Joshua's mandatory defense against Pulev set for June 20th in the capital, facing the Axe. But the 38-year-old Bulgarian Pulev, who pulled out of fighting AJ back in 2017 with his injury, is happy to get his crack at the belts in front of an empty venue as long as the fans are at home buying it on pay-per-view. He said, "I'm happy for June 20th, June 25th, whenever they say. You see, the situation is the whole world must adjust to it. There's no problem to be without spectators. Everyone would be at home. They can pay per view, so I don't see any problem financially." Well, the Counterpunch Pulev, I think, for one, he wants to get this show on the road. He wants his shot. He did miss out on the opportunity late 2017 to fight Joshua due to some type of injury, okay? And instead he fought Takam, and he was his replacement. But Pulev knows and figures that this disaster could be one of those things that could push this fight back, and God only knows what could happen later. So he's trying to do this sooner than later. But he is right. I think he could fight him because I recommended this. I think Eddie Hearn mentioned this. He could fight him at that arena. He could do that. He could do exactly that. He could fight him at that arena without anyone there. The pay-per-view, yes, they would have pay-per-view. People would have to watch it. And if this is a new norm, because a lot of people, we don't know how this is going to go and for sports, but the show must go on. People have to do their jobs, okay? But if larger crowds are a threat, especially at this point of time, we don't want to harp over losing the revenue. I know it looks good, it sounds good, it's more selling. Oh, you had this many people or that many people, but having people around each other is a hazard to everyone and each other at the same time. So it is a way of life, and it could be the new norm if we do want to have fights. So a lot of people are worried, like, hey, I want to see live fights, but does that mean you have to be there live to see those fights? You know what I mean? So how many times have you saw a fight on pay-per-view or DAZN or the ESPN Plus, right? And you weren't there. You don't necessarily have to be there. So in theory, Kubrat Pulev's right. We don't have to be there live to see the fight. We know there's going to be people that want to see it live, but that they could easily stay at home. So it could be something, right? It's not impossible to fathom the fact that, hey, those fighters are going somewhere to fight, and then they're going to show us via media, okay? We're going to have different perspectives. I know there's nothing like watching a live fight. I love watching live fights. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we have to work with what we have. And what we have is to keep people safe, to keep people indoors like it's recommended from all types of leaders and health care providers around the globe. Stay at home. So since we can do that, pay-per-views at home, you can watch it from home. And honestly, it might be better revenue. Why do I say that? Because sure, you're going to miss out on the live feed. We're not talking about that. But I'm saying as far as pay-per-view, what would happen? Okay, you don't want to have so many people in one place. So everybody's all paranoid about being around a group of people. So what does that mean? That means more people, or if they want to watch the fight, they're going to watch it from their own home. That means they're going to have to purchase it. So instead of 10 people being in one house, that means only 2 to 3 in per house. So that means they're buying more. That means there's more numbers. That means that, hey man, I heard so-and-so got the fight. Let's go there. None of that. No, if you want to watch it, he ain't going to let a bunch of people in his house because of this craziness going on. So what we can do, we can go home and we can put in half on it and watch it at home. Just the two of us. Whoever those two people were talking, right? So it could go better for the new norm because there's more increments of people buying it, okay? Let me give you a prime example. The late 20th century, the early 20th century, I'm sorry. Families used to be a lot bigger, right? You know, back in the day, people had 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 kids, right? And back then, you know, you had bigger families, right? And these bigger families, they had bigger families, but then the family stopped. They stopped being as much. They went from 8, 9, 10 kids to maybe 3 or 4. Then it went to like maybe 1 or 2. Okay, in later times. But what we've noticed is there have been more population from just people having 2 children, right? And it's weird because back then when you had all those children, you had a lower population global rate than we do now. Okay, so that should just give you an idea of how pay-per-view would be if you would have 1 to 2 people in a household instead of 5 to 10 to 15 people in a household. Okay, and then it's better that way. So they could probably limit or just people themselves will automatically limit the amount of people coming to the house because they don't feel safe with the germs out there, right? So if that's the case, it could be done. We could still see boxing. We could see it live because it's happening live. We just won't be there at the facility live, but we will be watching it as it happens. Okay? A lot of people do that. This is the world and the lifestyle of social media. Yes, it can be done. You see stuff all the time from home. Okay? A lot of people don't go to theaters. Why? Because they have video on demand, VOD. Right? So no, it's not hard to fathom. And it could be a reality to beat this thing, to get all these germs and stuff and get all this cleared away, at least to keep the spread from happening. Because the more people go out, the more people run to the grocery stores and all this, that, and the other, you're at risk of catching it. And a lot of people, I don't know what happened. You went to a grocery store where there was 200 people there. That's what happened. And 200 people were probably 200 possibilities of different germs per person. All right, so Kubrat Pulev, he has a good point. I do agree with him. The show that could be lost a bit without fans, but it can still happen. After all, it's a world championship, which must take place. So yes, it could happen. And Eddie Hearn, he was talking towards that same direction as I said. And it shouldn't be any reason to freak out. I just know that money talks, okay? It's a money thing. And they would rather wait and push it back to make more money later on in a different date or another date than to cut that revenue. I know that much. That's the problem. You know what I mean? They don't want to let that money go. They don't want to let it go out the window because they're thinking, oh, well, yeah, the pay-per-view was good. It was decent. It was this. It was that. But all the money, what about the live gate? Right? They don't want to make that. They don't want to get rid of that idea, because see, here's the problem too. If they start doing it, then it's easier for other people to start doing it, or it's easier for people to give up the idea of going out. They're not trying to let people have that mentality like, hey, you could stay at home and you can never go out because there might be some other germ or somebody that has it and we don't know about it. So guess what? We're just going to buy it from pay-per-view. and that can mess up the venue, the gate numbers. Okay, so that's probably one of the reasons and the dangers for them not wanting that to take place. But what Pulev said does make sense, and it shows that he's hungry for this fight. Him and Joe Goosen are getting it on. They're training. They're showing people what, he's showing people that he still wants this fight. And then, he missed out the first time again. So I don't think he's trying to miss out again because, hey, this kind of thing happens in the sport of boxing. But you guys tell me what you think about Kubrat Pulev's plans and strategy to fight Anthony Joshua. Should it be behind closed doors and we could all watch it via video or via pay-per-view or the zone or whatever? Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been counterpunching. Peace.